Everybody, welcome to week 5 of your evidence-based practice course. Happy Thanksgiving. I am coming to you from a corner of my theater room because I have a house full of company and this is the only place where I could find a quiet corner. I love having company, but got to get some work done. All right, week 5. So, you are turning in or have turned in your solutions step of your whole evidence-based practice project. So I will be reviewing that. And this week we're talking about change. And so this week in the DQs, you're going to be talking about a change model. And I happen to like Lewin's theory of change. In its basic form, it's unfreezing, moving, and refreezing. And then in its expanded form, there's a lot of other variables within those 3 stages. And I have used that one in research, and I've used it just in implementing change projects. And I happen to like that one. But there's quite a few out there, tons. Rogers is a very popular one. Lots of different change theories out there. So select one that you would like. Maybe you've seen in a past course or something like that. And then the second DQ question. So last week, we identified barriers to implementing change. So this week, I want you to pick one of the barriers that was in your DQ post last week, and you're going to discuss how that barrier could be addressed in the work setting. So you're going to be telling us which barrier that you're going to be addressing, and then some type of solution or way to address it, something from the literature, from the reading that you think would be appropriate to address that barrier. So pick one from last week and look at a solution to it. Okay, so those are the DQ questions. So now you're going to be this week turning in 2 papers, the change model paper and the implementation plan. I would maybe start with the implementation plan. You've got to identify your model first, your change model, but I would maybe start with the implementation plan. So the implementation plan is really, really specific. When you read through the directions, it tells you exactly what has to be put into that paper. And I would really appreciate if you would use some headings to help me kind of look at that as I'm scoring your papers. And then you're going to be taking the steps of your implementation plan. And in your change paper, you're going to describe your change model and then which pieces of that implementation plan go into which steps or phases of your change model. Okay, so it's like you got the solution and now you've got a lot of nitty-gritty details, and the change model is very important because without really a process for change and really thinking about the implications of a change, without really thinking that through with a change model, I think a lot of things can be overlooked. Unintended consequences, things not going according to plan, maybe not having thought through all the barriers, different things like that. So this week you're going to have the 2 papers that you're going to be submitting, the change model and then the implementation plan. And just to be clear, the implementation plan is separate and it's much more detailed. The change model, you're talking about the model, and you're just going to be talking about the pieces of the implementation plan and where they're going to fall in that model. Okay, so maybe you're doing a questionnaire, and maybe the pre-questionnaire goes in phase 1 of the model. Phase 2 maybe is your implementation of your whatever. Phase 3 is maybe a post-implementation questionnaire. So if you divide up the phases or steps of your change model, what things happen during that time. So in the implementation paper, you're really describing them In the change paper, you're just listing them out. Okay. Now, it talks, in one of them, about a conceptual model. And it says that you're going to have to put together a conceptual model, but that you're not going to be submitting that until you submit your final project in week 7. Okay. It's kind of like the research table when you did your literature review. It said, put it together now, but you won't have to submit it until the end. It's the same thing with a conceptual model. I think you should look at some examples of nursing conceptual models. I am not expecting anything fancy or mind-blowing, so you don't need to worry about that. It just needs to be a model with how you think things are going to kind of flow from the beginning to the end, or what factors are going to impact your change, things like that. So doesn't need to be rocket science, you just need to have one. Okay, all right. Okay, so I think that's about it for this week. I know with Thanksgiving, maybe you have family, maybe you have going out of town, different things. I know it's hard balancing this work, school, home life type thing. But hopefully you'll have some time to pull this information together. As usual, there's a pretty narrow word limit on at least one of them. I think in both of them have word limits. And so clear, concise. Just follow the directions. Don't give me more than what's asked for. Clear, concise. Make sure you're including your references at the end. And of course, they don't count in the word count. All right, everybody. Well, happy Thanksgiving once again. And if you come across problems or questions as you're doing your projects this week, as always, shoot me a message or call me if you need to, and we'll get through it. I am so excited. You guys are moving right along. All right, see you in the main forum.